Hello there, I hope everyone is doing well today. I am going to be doing a deck profile on my pure Spright Melffy deck. This is Post-PHNI Nightmare, and this is the long-awaited deck that a couple of people have requested by now. And I want to just, showcase what I have so far. Note that this isn't like fully tested, but I have done a fair bit of testing on Dueling Book, on like other platforms as well, including, well, not other platforms, but like in real life as well. Locals, regionals, whatever. And it's been performing pretty well. I'd say there are definitely some inconsistencies I've noticed, especially because I'm running a bunch of different abnormal hand traps now. But we'll jump into that in a second after we cover all the cards. So let's jump into the main deck first because that's the most prominent one. So we'll go for the standard 3 Beaver, 2 Angler. If I was running more discards, I'd probably run a 3rd Angler, but that's the ratio for now. And then we're running triple blue, triple jet, 1 carrot, 1 red, which I think are definitely very standard ratios. Not a big fan of running more than 1 carrot or red, just because I feel like the other spots are necessary. If I had other spots in the deck, I'd probably fill it with talents instead, which I guess in foresight is not being run in my deck anymore. I did run it in the past, but I don't know. I might jump back into it because I felt really bad running it when it wasn't actually live. And then, of course, we have the Penny and the Caddy, the 2 Melffy cards for the Herald Summon. And then to round up all the level 2s, we have the level 2 of choice that is the non-main engine level 2, non-Melffy, whatever. It's Hyperia, just because I think it is better than the other ones currently using this particular deck. And I'll get into that in a second. Let's set this aside so I don't forget, because I always forget to do these kinds of things. We have a triple starter, very nice to have back at 3, smashes, gamma burst, and I have answered this so many times, but I'll do it one more time quickly. Smashes is in here over the trap because I like it a lot more going second and first, and you can use it to dodge a lot of things. A lot of cards can't be targeted, and so I just gets around like those towers as well. And then like, yeah, I guess the biggest application is just because you can use it going second. Fenrir, 3 of them, always want to open them up. And those are my board breakers, by the way. The Fenrirs plus these 3 cards here. This card is amazing in this format, in my opinion, because of the monsters that can summon now. You either draw 1 off Garura, or you can have targeted protection using Mud Dragon. And that is actually amazing against Promethean Princess Engraved because they have to target your field and their field. And Mud Dragon happens to be water already, so even if you open up Nimble Beaver, you can go for those first. And before you make Gigantic, turn it to Dark, and then, core summon the Gigantic out after. Amazing. Alright, and then we have the Handtraps in the main deck. We have Triple Ash, pretty standard. Triple Imperm, also very standard. So here is the source, the juice for this format. Triple D-Shifter in the main deck because, of course, we are kind of a shifter deck, right? Like, we do lose the Angler plus Sprint line. Potentially some other cards, but yeah, that's that. And then we have 2 Drolls and then 2 Crows. So if you guys watched my previous videos, you might have noticed that I didn't include EMP. Actually, there are a couple cards I switched out, right? So first of all, EMP is missing. And the reason behind that is because I just don't think it's good enough. Like, it's good as a non-activated card, but I'll probably actually do another video covering just EMP and why we should or shouldn't run it. And then, what else? Prosperities also missing, which is why Hyperia is in here. Let's talk about this quickly, actually. Under Shifter, I wanted a card that actually does something. Under Shifter, you are not going to lose the draw. So Hyperia, drawing a card is just a free +1 plus a body on the field. Your other options are Capture, which I think is strictly worse than Hyperia in almost every way, except for the fact that Hyperia is mandatory. So when you summon, you have to declare the effect. If you want to just go for a Zeus or something, you still have to activate it. So if they have like a Baron, an anti-Zeus or like a Zeus, whatever, right? If they have a Baron on the board, they can get and destroy this, and there goes your only 2 body. So that's the only downside to Hyperia, the fact that it's mandatory. But otherwise, I'd still say it's the best one. What are the other options? So you have EMP as well, which has to go to the grave to banish to, bounce a monster on this side of the field. And then you have Soul Scissors, whatever. Again, someone commented in my, I think it was 2 videos ago or last video, that I should do a video on the 2s of choice, like the non-main deck 2s. Sorry, not main deck, main engine 2. and what determines what monster is better than what. That was a long sentence, but yeah, Hyperia is my opinion currently just the best one, just because it's a 3+1, and yeah, better than Capshot because single-handedly Hyperia can draw you into another card if you are kind of stuck with your hand with like non-Spright monsters that can potentially draw you one. Capshell needs another card, so you can overlay and then you can draw one after, which is not quite the same, or you can link off whatever, right? Let's go through the extra deck. So we have one Sprind. I think one is correct. If you're making two, it's highly unlikely that you actually get to the second stage first of all, because Sprind is a hard once per turn. If they negate it the first time to the point where you need to use the second one, you can't even make Sprind using this one as material on the same turn it's summoned. And also, if you get to that point, it's probably game over already because like you're kind of just top decking cards. So it can come up. It's kind of unlikely though. Like if you open a hand trap plus a 2, sure, you can make a second Sprind. But at that point, like knowing Spright, right, you commit all your resources into just making one big board or pushing with your entire board, with your entire hand. Typically, there won't be follow-up. So even if you make a Sprind on the next turn, it's very likely that will just get negated again by their board. Then we have two Gigantics. Then we have SP Little Knight. And then the rank 2s. So we have Herald of the Pure Light. This is my favorite tech this format just because you can recycle shifter. It's very cancerous. I put up like 2 videos in my past week, I think, or maybe 2 weeks, detailing how Herald is really good at recurring shifter and why it's a secret tech this format. But as an FYI, this has other uses as well. You can also put back, if you draw into the second angler, right? If you open Nimble Beaver, you normal summon the Beaver, you special the angler from deck, then both your anglers will be out from the deck, which means you can't dump one for Sprind. You can actually, if you have other sprites, you can go into Gigantic, into Blue Jet, summon Herald first, add back maybe a Nimble Beaver, or you can add back a Blue or whatever, right? And then you can put back the angler, and then you can link Gigantic and the Pure off into a Sprind to then dump the angler that you put back. So it's actually really good tech in that instance as well. It kind of unbricks your hand at the cost of one card, but at least you can combo. And then in like a stalemate situation, you could potentially add back a Blue if you need like more recursion or some kind. Then we have the Zeus package, and Mannequin of course. Ninja Mosquito, Zeus package with Downed and Zeus, and then Zeus's little brother Typhon. I'd say big brother actually, because Typhon always kills off Zeus, right? Like it's very unlikely that's the other way around. You have to enter battle, summon Zeus out, whatever, it doesn't matter. Alright, then we have Melffy of the Forest and Herald of the Arclight. And of course, these two actually very good under Shifter. Sometimes you can make Gigantic and just go directly into the caddy if you're under draw. And that just gets you the Herald of the Arclight without the Forest, because you can't add a Forest after draw. Yeah, and Arclight is just Arclight. Very nice body, Omni-Negate. Also stops like sending from field hand or deck to graveyard, monsters at least. They get banished instead, so a lot of those costs can't be played. And then we have the last 3 cards. So first of all, Garura. Second, Mud Dragon, obviously for Super Poly. And then the last card, wow, it's blank. Okay, so the reason why it's blank is because I feel like this is the only flexi spot. I feel like every other card in this extra deck is just set, right? Like it's up to debate whether or not you want to change some of these cards up. But in my opinion, these cards have all come up like multiple times where they're just mandatory. If I didn't have them, I'd probably just be boned in that situation. So this last card here is, in my opinion, the only flexi spot. I've left it blank because I don't really have a card that consistently comes up. And so, oops, I just dropped a card. In my other hand here, I have a small pile of cards, and these cards are cards that could replace the last spot, and I'll explain the reasoning behind each one of those as well. So first of all, Onibimaru. This is great for OTKing because you can summon the Onibimaru off of like a Blue Jet and then overlay into Onibimaru, detach, target one of their monsters if they have one on board, banish it, and then just Gamma Burst them for game. I feel like it is a little slow now because they probably make SP, which means that if you make this guy to try and banish, they'll just chain SP and then remove one of your bodies, which doesn't really do anything, right? So it's not as good as it used to be. Maybe if they have a token, then sure. Maybe a nib token, you nib them, and then you want to summon Onibimaru, sure, makes sense. Next one is IP Masquerena. So IP paired with EMP is in theory a really nice combo, but I'll explain later on in the EMP video, if I ever end up making that one, why I'm not a big fan of IP. Also just because I typically find that even with the most broken hands starting off going first, I find myself making a board where every single monster is more or less necessary, where I have to keep it. Best case scenario, I might have like one extra monster, one extra body, but that does not equate to an IP, and so I don't play the IP. I feel like it's more of like a win more card. Like if you full combo and they don't do anything to interrupt you, right? Like at that point, they probably have like full ball breaker or like full engine, which means that you're probably getting disrupted on their turn instead. So IP, not a big fan. Next one is Phoenix. So these two actually nightmares. I'll talk about them both together. So Nightmare Phoenix and Cerberus, I feel like are pretty good. Probably going to take the last spot in my extra deck, to be honest, just because they have their util purposes, and that's what this spot should be, right? Like if this spot here isn't like a set card already, it's probably just like a flexi util spot. So I was thinking either Cerberus or Phoenix, just because first of all you can pitch the Angler in hand to summon 2 beavers from deck, while also getting rid of either a spell trap / monster in the main monster zone. This also outs, Baguska, if anyone's still playing that, right? If you get like a Angler in hand plus Jet Blue, you summon the Jet, summon the Blue, you could activate the effects, and then go into Cerberus, discard the Angler, pop the Baguska, and you get 2 bodies, make Gigantic, whatever. Full combo from there, right? And then we have Nightmare Phoenix, which also gets rid of Floodgates, but to be honest, the Floodgates I can think of, the only one that might actually come up is Anti-Spell, because Summon Limit, you're probably not making this, right? If you already have 2 bodies on field, let's say you normal Beaver, Special Angler, and then they flip the Summon Limit, it's like, oh, well now this doesn't actually do anything because I can't summon it in the first place. It also targets one spell trap your monster, your opponent controls only, so you can't pop your own, which means that you can't pop your own Floodgates, so it's not amazing, right? It's decent. Next one is Dark. So Dark, everyone's saying, oh, Dark is really good because you can get back the IP or the SP, and then you can use those effects, or you can like link them off, or like you overlay them into Gigantic. Yeah, sure. You can also have like Dear Belle start, but otherwise I feel like there isn't too much in terms of applications for this card here. If this was a dark heavy format, then sure, but because most fire decks just have fires aside from those Dear Belle stars, this isn't going to come up very often, especially if you're going first. If you want like an easy Sprind, kind of unlikely, right? There are no dark Handtraps that I'm aware of aside from like Shifter. Is that it? Maybe some more like niche ones, right? But the main ones that people run are not dark, and so I feel like it's not amazing. And then we have the Jericho Quest. So this card alongside a card that actually sold yesterday, which is the Guilty Gear Freed. There we go, the 2 fusions, right? So this one requires a Dragon Synchro monster plus 1 Warrior monster. So that's more for, let's say, end boards for... There's another deck, but I can't think of it right now. Obviously Vanadium, because they end on Dispatter, plus, either SP or Baron or both. So this can get rid of the Baron and the Dispatter. And then you also have can't think of a deck that maybe like some Bestial variant, like Runic Bestial. Yeah, they can end on a Warrior plus Dragon Synchro. So this could come up. And then the Guilty Gear Freed is just 2 Warriors, which means just Baron SP in any deck. Or if they're playing Rescue Ace, like they have some Warriors there as well, so you can use those. So that's my extra deck plus the potential last cards. Or the last card. Last slot, I should say. Okay, let's move on to the side deck. And I won't be doing a combo video this time because I've done plenty of those in the past couple of videos. If you want to watch any of those, just watch them. I also have like sample works as well. Sample duels where I go through a couple of matches or games where I showcase a couple of combos. There'll be a couple more coming up because I've noticed a couple of really nice duels that I want to include. I want to showcase. All right, so first of all, 2 Belles. The reason for Belle is because I feel like Belle is solid against most decks, right? Especially Labyrinth, it can stop Big Welcome, and then Belle also stops, and I don't know how many times this has come up, but you know you're playing a Viking Rescue Ace player, you chuck the Shifter to grave during their turn because they're going first, you're going second, they called by it, and then you draw Belle as well. And that feels so good, right? Obviously, you wouldn't just set it in for potential called by, but because it also comes up against them, it's so good. And so you chuck the Shifter, you have the Belle in hand for maybe like a Flambird summon 2 from grave, or like an Oak summon from grave, or like a Princess summon from grave, or Garunix, whatever, you get the point, right? But yeah, they attempt to called by it, you can chain the Belle and it stops them from banishing it, and you just proceed with your turn. Feels good. Otherwise, what else is it good against? It is good against Voiceless Voice as well. Saphira, discarding, and then sending the spell to grave, and then adding from grave or deck to hand, which means you can Belle that effect. Pretty good. Triple anti-spell. So this is the Floodgate. I feel like you have to play Floodgate in this deck, right? Floodgate of choice this time around. It means that you can't OTK with Gamma Burst unless you hard draw already, or you set it up for from the previous turn from like Jet Ad. Maybe you already have a starter and you want to search the Gamma Burst for next turn. This is really good. The reason why I run this over Summon Limit is because I find that Summon Limit, essentially, if they break your board, it's the same result. Like, you have to summon 2, play through your own, and you have to kill them in the same turn while only summoning 2, which is too hard. Anti-Spell limits you to not using Gamma Burst, but at least you can make a board and then kill them over 2 turns, or worst case scenario, you can, I guess you could also Mosquito them, right? If they have like a decently sized monster, you can just Mosquito them instead on the anti-spell, which is fine. Then we have Triple Nib. Nib's actually very good this format. I'm not main decking it just because I think Droll comes up more often than Nib, which is why Droll's in there rather than Nib. But I will always play 2 copies of them rather than 3 in the main deck, and then I'll side in these 3 against like Fire King because it's so good against them. Droll. Third Droll is just for like the matchups that require a draw. Like if I really want to draw it, then I'll chuck in the third Droll as well, especially like Vanadium, because I guess it could shift to them, but otherwise it's kind of rough to kill them off. Triple Cosmic for the anti-spells and also the trap decks. Mandatory to side in whenever you're going second against a deck that could potentially Floodgate you, which is like pretty much every deck, so I just chuck it in going second no matter what. Then we have, to round up the Spell Trapper hate, Lightning Storm and Duster. Lightning Storm, pretty good. You can force out the negate from Skull Guardian. And final spot goes to Christia. So Christia, I mentioned in the previous videos that it's for Purrely, summon off Mannequin Cat, but it's also really good against Voiceless Voice. Now I take that back, right? Because Voiceless Voice, if they get to special summon a light, it's probably pretty late in the combo. It could have potential, but I think I'd rather, instead of summoning Mannequin Cat, just summon the Melffy of the Forest instead for a guaranteed Omni Negate rather than a potential special summon Floodgate, just because they probably get to like Skull Guardian plus low before you actually get this out, which is kind of frustrating. And yeah, that's the side deck. All right, so the last bit of advice I want to give to you guys is always know your matchups. So it doesn't actually matter what I'm running in my deck at all if you don't know where to handtrap or what to hit, right? So the idea is actually practice this format if you want to like play really well. Play against a lot of Viking decks, Voiceless Voice decks, whatever can come up, and make sure you know the matchups, when to side in what cards, when to activate whatever cards against what card. Then you'll find your chances of winning go up a lot. And that seems pretty obvious, right? But at the same time, like none of these non-engine cards actually matter unless you use them correctly. And so my biggest piece of advice, take your time, just practice a lot, watch a lot of duels, see where the combos go, figure out the best choke points to hit, and you might actually have a pretty good chance of winning quite often. And like this deck at locals, like it performs decently most of the time, at least like a 3-1 or something, because normally we have 4-round games. But lately I've been playing a lot of like really random rogue decks, and so this deck is geared more for like the hard meta matchup. So against Viking, it actually performs pretty well if you draw the right cards. Like Shifter just cooks them completely, and you're able to recur Shifter, which is amazing. You're one of like the 2 decks that are able to do that. But otherwise, if you run into like some really rogue decks, you'll have to like learn those matchups as well to play equally as well. And yeah, that's about everything. If you guys have any questions for me, please just reach out in the comment section or whatever. Let me know. and I'll try and get back to you. I might make a video based on your comment if I feel like it's mandatory or necessary to explain whatever concept to you guys. And once again, a big thank you to everyone for supporting me. My sub count has actually grown a fair bit over the past couple weeks, and it's all thanks to you guys. Yeah, I appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna head off now. It's quite hot here. Take care and let me know what you think. Bye.